Okay, so thank y'all so much for being here, and I appreciate your time. I know this is kind of a new process for us. We are starting to try and calibrate a lot of things when it comes to professional learning and like what things look like to keep everybody safe and feeling good about what they're learning and the safety of the room. You know, with adults, sometimes like that learning can feel uncomfortable if it's not something that you know, or conversations can kind of shift and change, and we just want presenters to feel like they have every um tool belt under their tools in their tool belt. Okay, so one thing I would suggest is at the bottom of the screen there is a bit.ly that will take you to this very presentation, and you don't have to follow along with me today, but I would like you to either write down or make sure that you have this link, because this presentation has a ton of resources that I'm going to go over that you're probably going to want to visit at some point between now and the summer conference. So I just wanted to make sure that you have the link. It's bit.ly/CISD summer 24. And that will bring you to this presentation and give you access to all of the resources as we're going through it. So a couple of things that we're building calibration on is a few slides that we would like for every presenter and every presentation to have. Now, when you see the slides, I do have a cute little theme that goes with the Friends theme, but I want you guys to know you don't have to use the themed presentation, but you do need to use the content that is on each of the slides. And so you'll see very clearly, like the first one is what we call like the welcome slide. And what this slide does is just it draws people into the room. So when they're sitting and kind of waiting for things to start, one, they know that they're in the right session because the name of the session's on the top of it. And two, there's an opportunity to kind of set themselves up for success. Do they need to log into something? Do they need to have something available? Should they have brought something? Any of those like bullet points, just kind of helping them get themselves settled before the session starts. And so that's this welcome slide. And just before we keep going, I have a template of the slides that are quote required that you can use. And so that's going to be one of the links that's in this presentation. And again, if you don't like it or it doesn't go with your theme, which I totally understand because I know we're only a week out from the summer conference, please just make sure that the content of these slides are like there. So if you already have a slide with your title on it and you have a place where you can tell people like what they need to be doing to make sure that they are set up for success, great. Do not feel like you have to use the purple door. Now, would it be cool if they all had the purple door and there was like that thing, the consistency across the board? That would be great, but I am not that's not a hill I'm gonna die on. But I just wanted you guys to know that we definitely need a welcome slide that starts. And so that's one of the 4 slides that we need to have. The second one is okay, Canva. Living my best life over here. Okay, there. Okay, this welcome. Well, I forgot to tell you this. I am so thankful that you guys are here and that you are sharing your expertise with the RCSD family. Because seriously, I literally couldn't do this without you guys. There's no way that I could be presenting to 200-300 people every day. And so I'm so thankful that all of you that has your expertise are going to be presenting to our staff this summer and all the times, because I see lots of faces in here that I know present for me all the time. Oh, is there something? Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. Well, I'm Nancy, Director of Professional Learning. If we haven't met, I think I've met everybody, so I'm just going to say that anyways. And then I have Amanda here. She's here on the Zoom, and she's going to be like our chat person, and she's going to be able to be giving resources and then also remind me of things that I forget to say, because, that's what I do. Okay. So this is another slide. This is slide number 2 that we ask that's in your presentation somewhere. And it doesn't have to look like this. And again, it's already done for you, so you can just copy paste it. But if it doesn't fit your theme, no problem. We just ask that the 4 core values are on the slide and that you nod to at least one of the core values that connects to the content that you're doing. So and most of us will definitely have great teaching. So if that's an easy one for you, but if there is an engagement piece or relationship piece or redefining success, we're just asking you to make that nod to the core values so that they can make those connections in the room. Okay, the third slide that we're asking that everyone has is a slide of norms. And actually these 4 norms are what we're going to try and use across the district as we're starting professional learning to make sure that as we are calibrating, our teachers are starting to kind of feel like, oh, I know what these norms are. And I can, as a team, as a CISD team, we can stay together, and that's respect others, practice active listening, maintain an open mind, and then participate while being mindful of others. And I think as a presenter, sometimes that fourth one can be, there can be times that like people get really passionate about a certain topic, and they can kind of get to that place where we just want to make sure that we're reminding folks that we want to participate for sure, but we need to be mindful of the others in the room and make sure that we're keeping everybody safe. So again, you can use this specific slide. It will be in the template, or as long as you have these 4 norms, and if you have more norms that like you need to have for your session, absolutely add them. But we suggest maybe no more than 6 norms, because after you get past 6, no one's listening. No one's going to be like, oh my gosh, I can do 700 norms. So if we can start here with these 4 and calibrate, that will just kind of create that consistency for our staff members as we go into next year. That's would be great. So that is slide number 3. And then this is a slide, but we just ask that the You Matter logo be somewhere in your presentation, whether that's on your first slide, or maybe you want to just use this slide as like your ending or something. We're just trying to make sure that we are displaying the same message and really kind of talking about how like our staff members really matter to us. One of the reasons why we're providing this professional learning is because we want staff members to feel confident in what they're doing and teaching and building new skills. And so if you can add the You Matter somewhere, this image is available to you, I guess, in the template. If you don't like this page, you can just copy and paste the actual You Matter image, and it's right there in the template. Any questions about those 4 slides that we're asking that are in every presentation? All right, sounds great. Okay, moving on. So today we're just gonna navigate those conference logistics. I'm gonna share with you like what the schedule looks like and talk a little bit about why it looks like that. Create a safe and respectful constructive learning environment. We have some tips for presenters that we're gonna talk a little bit about. And then just we're gonna display some resources around applying effective strategies in presentation design. Not expecting anybody to use these strategies, you have to, but really just wanted to offer some support and some spaces for you. Okay. So the agenda, again, the conference logistics. I am going to take a quick minute to talk about taking attendance, making sure everyone feels good about PowerSchool and all the different things that go into that. Then we'll talk about those tips, and then those presentation requirements I've actually already gone over. So I feel like that checkbox probably needs to be at the top, but that's fine. And then share some presentation resources with you. Keep moving my little screen over here. I'm just going to shrink it a little bit. So if you need me, just feel free to speak out or use the chat for Amanda. Okay, so here is the the schedule, sorry. So we'll start at 9 a.m. and end by 3:50. If you're staying all day, so wonderful. Lunch will be between 11:50 and 1 p.m. Of course, we're at CHS 9. And as a reminder, if you're, we've already got the doors unlocked for you. So if you just keep in mind that the north parking lot is kind of far from the CTE space, and you might have a bit of a jaunt or a bit of a walk as you're coming in. You'll see that there are 2 different colored sessions. Session A, C, D, E, G, and H are all the 50-minute sessions. And then right in the middle between, well, not really between A and C, between A and D is session B. And that's in yellow because those sessions are the 90-minute sessions. So if you're one of our 90-minute session folks, then you'll just have to remind your staff, like the people that are in your room, that they can't go to A, obviously, because you start at 9:20, but they will be available to go to D. And we kind of scheduled it so that they have an opportunity to still go to more than just one session. And then Angela Restivo, I'm sorry, I didn't put the full day CPI training on there because I didn't want to confuse folks, because you guys are the only one that has the full day. So is there any questions about the schedule or how it works? I think, are we good? All right. Sorry, I can't see anyone's faces, so I just, okay, moving on. All right, as a reminder, if you've presented for me before, or maybe you might be new to presenting, you have access to your session in PowerSchool at any time. So we've built out all of the courses for you. And so now you are attached as an instructor to the course that you're teaching. So you can go into PowerSchool, you can see the people that are on your attendee list, you can send communication to them, you can update your session details, and then from the website, you can also take that digital attendance. If you want later on in your presentation, if you click the bit.ly at the bottom, that's just a quick how-to in order to navigate to your session. So that's just, I want to make sure that you had those resources, but also knew that you could navigate to your session and take a look. we have? You good?
Can you go back to the parking lots for a minute? I have a question, but I'm very directionally challenged. Can you be specific about which parking lot is the north parking lot
Oh.
and where the CPE space is?
Yes. In fact, in just a second, you're going to get to see a map and I'll walk over all of that. That was a great question. Okay. So when we're talking about taking attendance, the Unified Talent app will be very helpful for you when you are in the moment in the classroom. So if you download the app, and actually you as a presenter will have the app, but so will your session attendees, and they can actually scan the QR code that will be on your sign-in sheet and be able to give digital attendance. But then let's say their app doesn't work or they don't come with the app, you can actually on the app tap in anybody that you want to in the attendance too. So the Unified Talent app is super important for you to have. And then I would also, if I were you as a presenter, if they don't have it, suggest that they do download it, and you will have instructions in your presenter folder that I'm going to talk about in a minute. And that will get you what you need to be able to be ready to take attendance. So speaking of those sign-in sheets, we are still asking that all attendees sign in on the paper copy and also sign in digitally. So when you get your presenter folder, which when you get to the summer conference, you'll walk up to the presenter table, say your name, they'll hand you any and all of your folders for your sessions. And then inside the folder will be some resources for you. And one of them is the sign-in sheets. Already printed for you, already ready to go. It will have a QR code on it. And that QR code is actually where the attendees can scan with their phone and it will digitally check them in, but they will still sign the paper because we like to do a lot of like cross checking to make sure that everything kind of worked out properly and that we got everybody the credit that they need. Someday I'll get rid of that paper copy, but as of right now, we're still in that kind of transition. And so we'll do the digital sign in, and then we'll also do the sign-in paper. So when you're done with your session, you'll just tuck everything back into that folder, and on your way out the door, you can just hand it to the presenter table, and then we'll take care of like double checking all the credit and doing all of that. Oh, I thought I heard somebody wanting to say something. If you have questions, feel free to add the chat, or you can speak right out, no problem at all. Okay, so sign-in sheets. Okay, if you want to generate an attendance QR code, so that QR code that I told you about that's on the attendance paper, some folks like to get that QR code and put it in their presentation. It helps with like the flow coming into the room. Like if you have a lot of people trying to get in, you could actually grab your QR code out of PowerSchool and copy and paste it into your presentation. If that is something that you are interested in doing, there is a bit.ly on this screen that will walk you through how to do that in PowerSchool. And it can just really kind of make your flow of your beginning of the thing work a little better, because you can just put that QR code up and they can all just scan with their phones or their iPads and check in instantly. So if that's an option that you like, there are directions on how to do that. Supplies. If you asked for supplies or requested any, there will be a supply table that's right next to the presenter table where you can pick up any supplies that you need and take them into your training room. Now, if you get finished with supplies and you have extras, you can bring them back to that table after your session is done. We'll reorganize and make sure that we have supplies ready for the group as everyone kind of comes in and out during the day. If you need supplies now and you're like, oh, Nancy, I forgot to ask for pens, or I forgot to ask for chart paper, no problem at all. Just make sure you email Emily Cowart, and that's ECOWART @copilisd.com, and she'll make sure to get you the supplies that you need. Now, if they're very random supplies, unfortunately, we don't have the ability to order from Amazon anymore because we're so close to the conference, but we can get you any of those like very, like normal supplies like sticky notes and things like that. All right, if you are on a 187-day contract, just as a reminder, you have to choose whether you want to be paid $25 an hour or be given flex hours for your designing and facilitation. Remember, you're going to get paid for the same amount of time that you're presenting to actually design. So if you're presenting for 50 minutes, well, we're going to give you 1 hour. But if you were presenting for 1 hour, then you would get 1 hour for the presentation and 1 hour for the design. So technically for a 1 hour presentation, you'll get 2 hours either with money or with Flex. And so what you'll need to do is, if you haven't already, make sure you go to the bit.ly and choose Flex or paid. If you are past 187 day, like you're 197 or you're 205, don't worry about doing this step because you're still on contract. All right, I already talked about the presentation requirements, but I wanted to make sure they were on a slide in here so you can reference it. But the welcome slide, the session norms, the core values, and the You Matter are the 4 pieces of information that we'd like you to have in your presentation. Does it have to be friends-based? No. Do you have to use my template? Absolutely not. Can you? Sure. If you would like to, this bit.ly that's on this slide will take you to a bulb page that will give you the option to download the templates or upload them or download them, sorry, yeah, and put them into Canva or Google Slides or whatever you need. They should all be there. All right, and I know I just sent an email today, but just as a reminder, if you have a presentation or resources, we'd like you to please make a presentation bulb page and send that in through the Google form so that we can get those resources to the attendees. So basically, just like in February and last summer conference, we are going to build out a collection library of all the content and make sure that all of our staff members have the ability to check out the resources after the summer conference or even during the summer conference. So if you could please make sure that that bulb page is completed by Tuesday, that would be great so that we can build them all into a collection and have them ready for the school, for summer conference. Now, if you can't, or you're a little stressed out about getting that done, no problem. If we can just get it as soon as possible, that would be great because we can continue to add those bulb pages to the collection. And then sometimes, like what I mentioned at our in-person training, is if you're doing a Google Slides presentation or you're doing a Canva that can be continuously updated, you can go ahead and embed everything and do your bulb page and turn it in and still continue to make edits and updates to your presentation because, you know, Google and Canva are both editable and they will update. So if you want to just do that, you can too, and not be afraid that, you know, the thing won't be updated. Amanda, we're doing okay on questions? All right. All right, so creating a safe and respectful, constructive environment. One of the things we want to start doing, and this is just our first iteration, is sharing some tips to be able to help the presenter think about ways that they could create that self and respect, that safe, respectful, constructive environment. So I'm going to put a little tips page up on the screen here. And I'd like you guys to take about 2 minutes and read this tips page. And all right, I was reading Julie's message and I was thinking the same thing. I get into that mode where I'm just like talk, and I'm not thinking about that listening actively. And I think it's so great the way you thought about it from like the presenter's point of view, like, hey, I need to listen actively. But when I think of that too, I was thinking about like how others need to listen actively. And we had a good discussion about this at the last training yesterday about like, how do we help respect other people's opinions and their passion to want to speak about something. And then Angela Restivo, the same thing, like, how do you like, you know, like, yeah, that's really good, but like kind of honor the time and the amount of time and being like, I love that idea. I really want to talk with you about it, but you know what, we need to kind of move into the next flow. Cause that's what, well, my students, I tell the story yesterday too. Like my students were so good at knowing like how to distract me to talk about something that I like to talk about. So then 15 minutes later, I'm like still talking about it and I've lost 15 minutes of instruction. I feel like the same thing can happen to me with adults too, and not because they're trying to maybe, but just like they get so passionate. And I think we talked a lot about that, honoring time limits. And one of the people yesterday was like, well, how do you respectfully like stop that conversation and help that person who is doing that feel respected and not feel devalued or, you know, whatnot, and honored, but also honor everybody else in the room. And that can go into like whether they're saying something that's awkward or like you're feeling a little anxious about, to like just spending too much time on it. And so I really liked that, you know, in order to honor the time that we have for this specific activity, we're going to move on, but I'd like to talk to you, I love Angela, after the session, because I'm super passionate about that as well and kind of doing those things. And then somebody else mentioned, and I don't know if there's more chat, so I'm sorry if there is, I'm missing the chat and I can't find it right now. But like be taking these tips and like coming up with sentence stems, because sometimes those can feel really weird. You're like, what do I do or what do I say when things like that happen? And so we're going to talk about like our next iteration is like, how can we create those sentence stems or create ways that we can continue to, like, again, respect everybody in the room, including the person speaking and the other people in the room listening. So that's great. Was there anything else you guys noticed about it?
I know this ties a bit with the map. There's some great discussion just about being aware of emergency procedures, especially when you're not in a space that is familiar to you. So there's some lots of great conversations.
Sorry, and I hope you guys could hear that, because I was just thinking maybe we doubled it because I couldn't mute myself. So were you using mic? Oh, and then I muted you at the end. We're in the same room. It's Zoom. What am I doing? What is happening? Okay. Yes, I agree. Like thinking about like the safety features. So speaking of that, moving into the next, and I know someone had asked this question about the map, so I want to go right to that. These tips will also be in your folder. So if you need them or just want to refresh your mind before you get started, those will be in there for us. And speaking of emergency exits, this map will also be in your folder. This is something new that I hadn't really considered until I was speaking with somebody else, and they're like, making sure safety is not just like what people are talking about, but making sure everybody is safe even in an emergency. And so this is the map. And so I want to talk a little bit about okay, so where you might end up parking. And so this map is actually going to go out to everybody tomorrow in the last email that I send to the staff about signing up. But there's a few places you could park. If you're there super early, there's a chance you could end up in the front parent loop. And if you do that, then you're going to go up through E Hall and then take a left, and you'll see that our summer conference is going to be over here in the south building on the left-hand side. So kind of like over in here. These yellow stars are all of the exits, all of the places that you could exit the building. And so once you're in your room and you see like where you're going to be, like if you're in D Hall or B Hall, just take a moment to see which star would be the space where you would exit, just so that in case there is a fire, which I honestly never thought about until someone said something to me, and I was like, ooh, we probably do, because not everybody knows the space, right? Like somebody had asked that question, like, well, where is the CTE space in CHS9? And so I want to make sure everyone feels really confident in knowing where they're going. So this front parking loop, there's also an opportunity, which I think most people will end up parking, is over here by the north building. There's a huge parking lot right off of, is it Airline? Yeah, is that Airline? Yeah, so right here, there's going to be a map on this door here and on this door. So depending on where you come in, I would suggest coming in here, and then there will be signs everywhere to get you to the right space. So if you just go down this hallway, go down into the middle part of the building, past the front office, and then you'll come over here. And then it's funny, and since you're presenters, you get to learn, we're going to have a pivot sign right here because, friends. So there'll be a pivot sign here for you to pivot and turn right and then come into this space. Once you're here, you'll see everything. Like the presenter table will be right here. And then the CTE space is this whole big open space right here. And the 90-minute sessions will be over here, and then some other sessions right here. So that map will be in in your folder for you. So you don't need to worry about printing it unless you just need to remind yourself where to walk. But I hope we've done a good enough job that once you park and get to a door, that you feel confident in where you're going. Okay, and then the last thing, we're almost done, is the presentation design resources. I just want to remind you, especially if you haven't had an opportunity to present, or I haven't had an opportunity to send you presentation materials. We have an optional planning template, and I know that we're only a week away, so a lot of the designs already happened, but you might want to take a look at that template to see, like, we kind of walk through like the different pieces of presenting that you might want to think about, coming from activities to agendas, and there might be something that sparks something cool in the next week. We also have icebreakers and team building activities that you can just pull and use really quickly. And then I did also suggest some adult learning strategies, just in case you're looking at like, oh, I want to do this thing, or I want them to spend this much time on something. I just don't know how to do it, or what kind of cool activity I can do besides just standing and doing a discussion. Check out those adult learning strategies and see if there's something that you would like to do with them. And that's all embedded in this PL design collection in Bulb. So this QR code specifically, and I do need to add the bit.ly, and I will, will take you to a huge collection of all the different pieces that would go into designing professional learning. So if you're ever looking, it may not be for this specific one, but I did want you to know and to have access to our PL Design Resources collection. Okay, and then so anyways, now you have been officially trained. Hooray. I'll make sure that you get your credit, but we are looking forward to you guys joining us at the summer conference. We're gonna have lots of fun little friends things to do with a background to take pictures on and all that stuff. And so I'm really excited. And again, none of this would happen without each and every one of you. And I just couldn't be more thankful for your time and effort and dedication to us and to professional learning. And I know that all the staff that comes always get so excited and so thankful. So I just wanted to start with my thank you first and just say thanks so much for being here and presenting for us. So I'll stop.